you have two chairs where one of them the client is seated and the other one you take through the client to imagine the deceased is seated there. Of course, we know because of cultural issues, people might feel, wow, this one, ni uchawi.
Yeah, I know. Good morning, viewers, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. I hope that you're fine. This is Holistic Therapy, and I hope that you have been enjoying or learning from the series that we have been talking about. You have been having, and we have been talking about loss and grief, the emotions that come with loss and grief. We talked about how to know whether you're going through complicated grief or you are going through maybe the grief that is normal. We also talked about how you can help yourself when you're going through grief, and also how when you're around people, how you can be able, how those people can support you. And through the whole of that process, it means that you're still learning that when you are grieving, you don't have to die in your grief. Also, it's important to understand that your body and your mind are connected. So it is important to understand how the brain works when you're going through grief. So in all those things, I hope that now if you had any questions, you have Teacher's number, you have my number. In case you are struggling, you can see one of us. Now, today there's a segment that we didn't finish on loss and grief, and I still have Anne today so that we can finish it together. And we are talking about the importance of grief counseling. Let me say this even before I introduce my guest, that people are easier to ignore when you talk about therapy, and especially when it comes to grief, because they are like, I can handle this on my own. Now we are here today if you have not handled that on your own, and why you need a counselor, how the counselor can help you go through loss and grief. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
You have been learning so much.
Thank you.
Through you. How have you been?
God. I've been well. I've been still going on with my work. Counseling actually is my passion. Apart from just the work that I do every day, it's actually passion. When I see maybe I talk to someone, either they were going through loss and grief or they were going through life issues, and then they tell me, wow, I feel calm, I feel better. Now I'm able to do 1, 2, 3, which I was not able to. I feel so good. And I feel a fulfillment. Yes.
Isn't that the joy of every counselor?
Exactly.
And you see people being able to move on with their life.
Yes.
You have been really helping a lot of people because people are going through loss. As we said last time, that people have been going through a lot of loss. And we said it's only that you don't have to lose someone. Sometimes you can lose a house, you can lose a baby, you can miscarry, and all that kind of thing. So today we want to talk about, now you are going through complicated grief.
Yes.
And you're stuck.
Yes.
And you're at the point whereby you are sharing your issues with people, they can't help you. And now you need a counselor.
Yes.
What is the importance of grief counseling?
All right. Thank you very much, Rose. Now, if you, just as what you had recapped what we were talking about, the emotions that come with loss and grief, the stages of loss and grief, and we said that is natural. Somehow one can heal naturally. But then now when you find them going overboard, then that is when we say you will need a counselor or you need grief counseling. So, and you've rightly asked, what is the importance of grief counseling? It's simply to help the person come back to normalcy, help the person to avoid complicated grief. Grief can be complicated. Like now there's a case maybe of a father whose son dies, and then the father insists the son is not dead. And he even says it is the hospital the hospital is hiding him. The doctors probably they are doing something with him and they are lying to him. Yet the boy is lying in the morgue. And the father says that the boy is not sick. So you find when it reaches at that point, that when the father says not just being that the boy is not even sick, he's not died and all that. So when it reaches at that point, you notice now it cannot even be the counselor. So the that case will now go to a higher level to see a psychiatrist because the father is now out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
So now grief counseling helps that, helps the person to mourn normally and to cope with it and to live normally and go back to their life. Yes.
I have seen people who go through loss and grief, and they get lost in unhealthy behavior. You're trying to, like you're saying, someone loses someone they love so closely. So I think as that father says that my son is not dead, if they are drunkards, they'll drink more.
Yes.
If they take drugs, they'll take more drugs. So grief counseling, in a way, as you're saying, it helps you to grieve healthy.
Yes.
What is the difference between you are grieving healthy and you're not grieving in a healthy manner? Yeah.
Yes, maybe if we can go back briefly to what you said about the complicated grief.
Yeah.
Like now in that case, the case I've just given an example whereby the father actually witnesses the son has died and they've taken him to the mortuary, but later on insist that the son is not dead. So that is an example of complicated grief, whereby you're in denial. You remember the stages of loss and grief? You said there's denial, there's shock, there's anger, there's blaming and bargaining, there's depression. Those ones are normal stages. But then if either of them goes overboard, like now that father or that mother could be going through denial overboard, whereby now it's the evidence is there that the son is died and is in the morgue, but he's insisting that is not his son there. His son is in the hospital and the doctors are denying him. So you see that one now goes overboard. So when you remember what you talked about the brain and grief. So in such a situation, the father is stuck in that survival brain. So the logical brain is completely deactivated and he's not able to see the reality. You see, acceptance is when now you're able to see the reality and cope and see it and accept it. And note, accepting does not mean that you're not mourning. In fact, such a father could even not be crying or anything. So what are you talking about? Nobody is dead here. But now when they come to their senses, the person now is able to mourn well or in a healthy way. Like now that father or that mother is not crying. Why? Because my son is not dead. Why are you people crying? What are you doing here? But then now when they realize it is true, so they can even start crying. Now they go through the stages. You remember the stages? In a healthy way. So the counseling helps the person to cope with the loss, to mourn a healthy way, so that now they can reach acceptance. It also helps them to manage their emotions. Of course, it will also help them not to grieve, like take alcohol, like you were saying, or maybe being stuck in that particular situation. So grief counseling will basically help that person to do that. Just like the way if you have an ailment, a physical ailment, you're sick or you have a disease, when you go to the hospital, it's like asking what is the need. Like if I'm having malaria or I'm sick, why should I go to the hospital? I go to the hospital so that I'm treated and then I'm able now to go back to my work. It's the same thing with loss and grief. So the client is able to come back and able now to mourn the person and maybe even reach acceptance in a healthy way.
Okay. As you're saying, because you're about to go to the techniques of that counselors use for loss and grief. And I think it's important to say this, when people are supporting you, those people are not professional counselors. There are things they can't help you go through. Maybe they'll help you with the home duties. Maybe they'll be there, you'll narrate your issues to them. But there are things only a professional counselors can do for you. So as we discuss these techniques, it is not everybody who will understand. And that's why counseling is very, very important. So when you go to the counselor, what are the things that you expect the counselor to do? Or what are the techniques some of the techniques that the counselor can use to help you cope with loss and grief?
Yeah. Thank you once again, Rose. So you find that when you're talking about this, it is double-edged sword.
It is.
In that we are helping our fellow counselors, and also we are helping the client.
Yeah.
So now, a very important technique for counselor is basically in exploration. It's basically narration.
Yeah.
Now, we can bring them to speed very quickly. The stages of counseling or the process of counseling.
Yeah.
We have exploration, understanding, and action.
Yes.
So as a counselor, exploration is quite key. And through exploration is getting the story.
Yes.
To get the story of the client. And how do we get the story of the client? There are several techniques of doing that, but one of them is narration.
Yes.
Let the client narrate. So a narration goes hand in hand with listening skills.
Yeah.
Where the counselor listens to the client
actively.
And pick those issues, pick the issues that the client is saying and not saying. So narration is very key, whereby now you as a client, you narrate to the counselor what has happened, what has transpired. And it's always good to be genuine. Just say everything you feel you're feeling, what has happened and all that, what up to this far, the issues you've been having with throughout the loss and grief period, how probably the loss occurred. So counselors know probing skills so that now they are able to get the story of the client.
Okay.
That's narration.
Wow. And you see, narration to a counselor, it is not the same as you narrate to your friend.
Exactly.
Your friend will wait for your story to end, and then they are like, I think you should move on. But a counselor will be listening and picking as you narrate your story. And that just reminds me that that people I've lost in my life or stuff I have lost. And I need to find someone. I think I'll find you and come and narrate.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think narrating, because you can't narrate to yourself.
Yes.
You can't narrate through journaling. You have to really narrate to someone. What is the other maybe technique?
Yeah, and maybe even before we go to the other one, because you find narration we say it is a key, because that is where you get the story of the client. And as the client narrates, then you'll be able to pick what are the issues that the client started with. It could be unfinished business with the
unfinished business?
Unfinished business, there are those things you feel you still did not fully complete, just as the word suggests, unfinished. Meaning there were issues that you feel maybe you had with the client, with the deceased person.
Is it deceased? Yes.
Yeah, the bereaved is the person who is now mourning the client.
The person who passed.
Yeah, the deceased is the person who has died. So there are things you feel you still have, you haven't finished with them. There are issues, like now maybe anger issues. Somebody may feel the person even owed them. They may feel the person was harsh to them, like in a relationship in the family. Maybe the person may feel you had wronged me or I had wronged you. You know, there could be that. You remember the guilt, the emotions that come, the guilt. So when the client is narrating, as a counselor, you will pick. And maybe one of the things you pick is unfinished business, because I want to talk about what you do with the unfinished business.
Yes.
Now, the other technique as a counselor you use, we call it the empty chair technique.
Exactly.
Empty chair technique is when now you tell the client, you have an empty chair, just as the word suggests, the technique suggests, you have two chairs, where one of them the client is seated, and the other one you take through the client to imagine the deceased is seated there. Of course, we know because of cultural issues, people might feel, wow, this one, ni uchawi.
I know.
Devil worship.
Or even some kind of nonsense.
Yeah, you want me to talk to the deceased. Like how? No, it has got nothing to do with the devil worship or something. You want to bring that imagination to kind of tangible thing. Just face this seat and imagine your friend, your colleague, your brother, your sister, your mother is seated there. There are things that you feel you needed to tell them. You can tell them now. Of course, as a counselor, before you use that technique, brief the client what it is about. And don't use it if they are not comfortable. There are other ways of getting that other than the empty chair technique. So with the empty chair technique, before I come to the others that are equal to it, you have the client talk to the deceased person. Imagine he's seated there, so you're saying things now. Mom, remember I had promised I'll do this. This is really hurting me. I never did, and I feel guilty, or anything that you feel. Then exchange. Have you, the client, seated on the other seat, and now you imagine the deceased person is seated there. Now respond to them. Imagine how you've had, respond to them. What now? And accordingly. So when again now after that you debrief. You remember you are debriefed.
Yes.
As a counselor now you debrief the client. What has that worked for you? So remember, if you brief them and they feel no, counselor mimi hiyo siwezi, it's okay. You can tell them to write. Write a letter to the deceased. Address them what you're feeling. Put it down. Give them a paper there in the counseling room. Let them say what they feel. They write down. Sometimes they might feel they don't want to write there. You can give it as a homework. You know these techniques, Rose. We do not say now I'm through with Gestalt empty chair technique. Now I'm getting to the other technique. Now, so they work hand in hand.